you ready to learn how to make smoked chicken thighs on the Traeger? Well, if so, this is the recipe for you. So come on, let's check this one out. To get started prepping these chicken thighs, I'm going to use a sharp knife to trim them up slightly. But before we get into that, I really like chicken thighs as opposed to chicken breast, as they just seem to hold moisture a little bit better, and in my opinion, they offer up a richer, deeper flavor than, again, chicken breast. Both are great options, and we kind of go back and forth at our house between the two. Now back to the prep. As you can see here, I'm simply trimming some of this excess skin. This is certainly an optional step and something that you can just leave on altogether. I have 4 kids that I cook for, and they're not huge fans of the skin, thus why I elect to trim off just a little bit of that extra skin, since they're going to peel it off anyways when they go to eat it. As I complete trimming off that extra skin, I place each of them aside until I get all 8 thighs trimmed. With all 8 trimmed, before I get started on the seasoning, I start by flipping them over because I prefer to apply rub to both sides. For this recipe, I'm sticking with my tried and true Hey Boo honey rub. This is a great option for chicken and one I use quite often due to the natural sweetness from that honey. In my experience, it pairs very well with chicken. Now, if you don't use smoky rubs but want to stay with that honey flavor profile, I definitely recommend Meat Church Honey Hog and Heath Riles Honey Rub. These 2 rubs are great alternative options, but now I'm just going to finish up seasoning the bottom of these and putting a nice even coat on all these chicken thighs. With my rub applied to the underside, I carefully flip all of them over and roll up both sides to kind of tuck under the skin and the excess meat. I prefer rolling them into these compact logs, if you will, shown here in this close-up. I prefer to do this so that I can get a nice uniform cook and hold in even more of that moisture. I'd say that this is certainly an optional step, and you may just elect to simply lay them out completely flat on your smoker. If you do, they're going to cook maybe a little bit faster, but in my opinion, they do have a tendency to dry out a little bit more than if you roll them up into this log shape that I'm showing here. But again, use your judgment as to how you want to cook these up. Now, before I season up the top side, I start by patting down all the skins with a little piece of paper towel. My goal is to remove any excess moisture. This is going to allow the skin to crisp up a little bit more and also help that rub adhere just a little bit better. Next, and certainly what I would call an optional step, I'm going to use some olive oil as a binder by drizzling it on top of all the chicken thighs. This in theory should help crisp up the skin for those who like that delicious, flavorful bite of snappy skin with their chicken thigh meat. With the olive oil applied, I massage it in lightly with my fingertips to get a good covering across all of the chicken thighs. Binders is definitely something that I get a lot of questions on this channel, and it's certainly something, like I always say, it's an optional step. You know, if you've got something like duck fat, kind of go with whatever flavor profile you want, as a lot of times that binder doesn't really change or alter the taste. Now that I've got the binder applied and ready, I again grab for my Hey Boo honey rub and apply a heavy coating across the top of all of these chicken thighs. Like I said before, this is a great opportunity for you to try different flavor profiles. Here I'm applying a sweet flavor profile from that honey that's in this rub, but feel free to go that savory route, or even just go a simple salt, pepper, garlic. But with that said, I always do recommend using something with paprika in it when you're cooking chicken on a smoker. That'll help you get that beautiful golden red-orange color and not that unpleasant gray color on the skins as they take on that smoke. With my prep complete, for this cook, I'm running on my Traeger Ironwood 885 at 350 degrees. I always like to do chicken somewhere between 350 to 400 degrees depending on how crispy I want the skin. Especially with chicken thighs, given that they are bone-in and filled with that dark meat, you're going to be able to run them at a little higher temperature, allowing the chicken to cook thoroughly but also crisp up. During this 35 to 45 minutes that my chicken thighs are on the pellet smoker, I shifted my focus to making what I would call a quick glaze. Here I'm going to be using 1 cup of my Rock's bourbon barbecue sauce to stick with my sweet flavor profile. As you'll see, I didn't quite have enough in that first bottle, so I had to grab another one real fast to get that full cup I was looking for. This is yet another great opportunity to switch up your flavors by grabbing your favorite barbecue sauce, whether that be a sweet barbecue sauce here, a spicy barbecue sauce, or even a tangy barbecue sauce. You can create any number of flavor profiles to serve whatever you're looking for. But now let's get back to this sauce. I wanted to thin it out slightly and make it a little bit tackier, so I added 1/8 cup of honey to incorporate with my bourbon barbecue sauce. I mixed these two in a stainless steel bowl that I can definitely put on the smoker. After I use that whisk to whisk up and incorporate these two elements together, I then placed the bowl on the smoker to allow it to heat up while my chicken thighs were finishing. Based on the temperature reading from my MEATER Plus thermometer, I'm now at 165 degrees internal temperature, and that means it's time to apply my glaze. Here I'm going to show you a few different techniques to apply the glaze. The first effort caused my rub to come off just a little bit since it wasn't set as well as I would have liked it. So I switched to dabbing method instead of brushing it on to be very careful. And then after doing that on a couple, I switched it up again and just grabbed each thigh with my cotton insulated gloves to simply dunk them into the barbecue sauce and get a full coating on the top and the bottom before placing them back on the grill grates. After doing this a handful of times, I then again switched it up with my technique and just dumped the barbecue sauce on the chicken thighs. In general, this is certainly an optional finishing step to making chicken thighs. But after applying barbecue sauce to all of the thighs, I ran them for another 10 to 15 minutes until I reached an internal temperature of 175 degrees. And that was it. After I hit my desired temp, I took them off the smoker and let them rest for 5 to 10 minutes before serving them to my hungry family. If you've made it to this point in the video, I can't thank you enough for sticking around. I really appreciate you hitting that like and subscribe button to stay current on all of my latest backyard pitmaster content.